Mark, I wasn't born yesterday. What on earth are we looking at Scholars Mate for?
Well, Jonathan, Scholar's Mate is one of the handiest tricks to teach beginners when they take up chess, because everything you need to understand chess strategy is kind of contained in the three-move attack that you currently see on the board. White's already moved the bishop out to c4 here, and the bishop is actually attacking the f7 square. At the same time, the white queen, move 3, has come out to h5, is also attacking there. So if black doesn't recognize that fact, after knight f6, what we'll see is the white queen lands in on f7, and that is checkmate. And what's really special about this position here, if we look at it, it's not just simply a beginner's mate. It's not, a simple trick that people use. Here, we actually see teamwork in action. And the other thing that's really important to understand here, this is actually chess strategy. Now, Jonathan, let's go on a linguistic adventure now. Do you know where the word strategy comes from?
Mark, as I'm classically educated, as you well know, I understand that the English word strategy comes from the ancient Greek strategos, which is their word for general. The leader of the army.
Classical education, as Hans Gruber said in Die Hard. But the point is that, yes, it is indeed general. And so the general is basically in charge of his or her army. So every chess player is in fact in charge of his or her pieces. And the thing about generals, generally, is that they need to get their soldiers or their pieces to work together as a team. If only one piece is doing all the heavy lifting, then usually the attack is basically spurned, and the queen usually is sent packing and on her way. But here we actually see the bishop on c4 is beautifully supporting that queen on f7, and that's the basic principle of teamwork in chess. Now, if we go back to the very beginning of the game of chess, and why this is so important is that after pawn to king 4 here, before we even play pawn to king 4, you'll notice that there are two squares on the board at the very beginning of the game that are only protected by one piece. They are f2, you can just see here, and also the f7 square here for black. Now, the thing about these two particular squares is that they're what I call the magic square. And a lot of chess strategy in openings is based on getting one or more, usually it's two pieces, to actually attack those squares. So, for example, if you look at how we got to the original Scholar's Mate position, you see that after e4, e5, the white queen is jumping out to h5 here, already eyeing up the f7 square. Black defends the e5 pawn here, which is under attack from the queen. But after bishop c4 here, you'll see the team is beginning to play together. It's harmonious development, and they're targeting this square. And you lose in Scholar's Mate because you don't actually take notice of the fact that that square, the magic square, which is only protected by your king once, the king in e8, is actually attacked by two pieces. And if you've got a 2 versus 1 advantage, that allows you to actually safely take an f7, and that is checkmate, because a king can never move into check, which means that essentially a king can never move to a square that is already is already under the control or would be attacked by an opponent's piece, and that is the bishop there. And there's the principles of chess, the essential principle of chess strategy in action. You spot a weak point in your opponent's position and then try to get two pieces to attack it together using this concept of teamwork in order to get the result that you're looking for. And that is the strategic idea, premise underpinning Scholar's Mate.
Mark, I'm not falling for this trap, so go away with your queen.
Well, what happens, Jonathan, if I just drop my queen back to f3 and I keep on attacking your magic square in f7?
Well, Mark, I'm going to just block you. I'm just going to bring my knight out, and now you can't get there.
No, but I can go to b3 with my queen.
Oh, that's sneaky.
Now, see, my queen and my bishop attacking f7. Now, it would be better if the bishop and the queen were the other way round, and I'd be threatening checkmate on f7. But what are you going to do about that?
I don't have to worry about you taking me on f7 because it's not checkmate. I might lose a pawn, but it's not checkmate. And I'm going to go up and I'm going to attack your queen on there. So what are you going to do, Mark? What are you going to do?
That's a nasty move because a knight in the middle of the board is a bit like an octopus with 8 tentacles reaching out in different directions. I can see that now. And you're also threatening now my queen. And you're also eyeing up my c2 square, which is pretty difficult. Okay, so at this stage I'm kind of pot committed. I got to basically go with the flow. My whole strategy is based on taking that pawn on f7.
Okay.
Let's take it.
Okay, Grant, I've one move. I have to go up there with my king. And now what are you going to do? You got your queen attacked. Huh?
Yeah, luckily for me, I got queen c4. So I can hold on to the bishop and I can protect c2.
Okay, so those are your... I'm going to kill you. You're gone, Mark.
Yeah.
I'm going to take your queen. I'm going to take your queen. And where are you going to go with that queen?
I didn't know I was playing such a seasoned expert in all this. That's a nasty move now because I can't actually protect the bishop in f7 and the pawn on c2 at the same time. So, all right, okay, I'm going to play a check because maybe I can take the pawn on e5.
Okay, well, sorry about that, but I've just taken your king. I've taken your bishop.
You can't.
With my king.
You're not allowed to take the king. That's against the laws of chess.
It is absolutely. So what are you going to do here anyway? I've got a discovered attack against your queen, Mark. Where are you going to go with that queen?
My original plan here was to play queen takes e5 and regain a pawn for the piece, but I've just realised that the queen is also doing something very important on c5, which is defending, unfortunately, my c2 pawn.
I would take your pawn on c2. I would attack your king, and I would attack your rook. So you're going to lose your rook for a knight, and that won't be good for you.
That's a bit grim, isn't it? So let's go back a little bit. Okay. So I need to make a tactical retreat here.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm going to go back to c3.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm just going to get on with my development. Oh, I'm going to take the pawn, I suppose. No, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. That's I don't need that pawn. I'm going to bring out a piece. I'm going to put my bishop.
Jonathan, that's very good of you. You're generous. Let me get back into the game now.
Yeah.
Now, I could defend the pawn a couple of ways with either my f pawn or my d pawn. But if I defend my d pawn, I'm letting my bishop and c1 out into the game. Let's go with that. d3.
Okay. Thank you very much, because now I have a very cunning move. I'm going to pin your queen against the king. And if...
All right.
What are you going to do about that, Mark? I know this is... for everybody watching, just to... This bishop seems as if it's unprotected. There's nothing defending it. But I'm a sneaky, tricky player, Mark.
You certainly are, Jonathan, now. And if I, of course, take that bishop, well... Sure.
Then I have the classic family fork. I'm hitting the king, I'm hitting the rook, I'm hitting the queen, and in fact, once the king moves, I'm going to just take your queen, and you're going to suffer for the rest of the game. I'm just going to crunch you.
At this stage, Jonathan, I'm open to the offer of a draw. I accept.
As your friend, I refuse, and I expect you to resign.
Well, the thing is, I tell you what I will do is I won't be playing the wayward queen attack anytime soon. Good defense. So the g6 idea is the one to play. But always remember, now after the queen drops back to f3, you played knight f6. Now, one of the things that's come up a lot when we've looked at this position in classes before is that players say, oh, but when you play g6, you should always follow up by putting your bishop on g7. Putting it on the long diagonal. But if you were to do that, unfortunately, you'd walk into checkmate again on f7. But this is a pretty good solution. So here, if
do you mean here? If I played bishop g7 to fianchetto my bishop, then then I would run into this. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
No, some nice ideas in there.
Yeah,
there are some pinning ideas, and so basically it doesn't work. So the law of diminishing returns kicks in when you're playing stronger players, and you can only get so far with Scholar's Mate, and then you got to move on to some real, more evolved chess strategies. Brilliant stuff. Okay, well done, Jonathan.
Thanks, Mark.